The day the aliens came changed everything. It was a sunny morning in May 2042 when the massive ship appeared over New York City. It simply showed up, hovering silently above the skyscrapers, casting a shadow that stretched for miles. Panic spread quickly. People ran through the streets. The military scrambled jets that looked tiny next to the enormous alien vessel. Television stations broadcast the same images over and over. The dark metal ship, smooth and oval, with strange lights pulsing along its hull. Major William Carter watched the chaos from the United Nations building. As the highest-ranking officer in the newly formed United Nations Space Command, he knew he would be called upon soon. His phone rang exactly 17 minutes after the ship appeared. "Major Carter," said the voice of General Patterson, "report to the secure conference room immediately. They want to talk to us." Carter hurried through the hallways, passing diplomats and officials who looked just as shocked as everyone else. In the conference room, he found a group of nervous-looking world leaders gathered around a table. "They call themselves the Galactic Hegemony," explained the Secretary General. "And they've asked for Earth's representatives. You'll be joining our diplomatic team." Before Carter could respond, a flash of blue light filled the room. When it faded, 3 figures stood before them. The aliens were tall, with gray-blue skin that seemed to shimmer under the lights. They had 4 arms and large, unblinking eyes. The middle alien stepped forward. "I am Ambassador Xor Thul of the Altharian Dominion, primary species of the Galactic Hegemony." Its voice was surprisingly clear, obviously translated through some unseen technology. "We have come to officially recognize your world and offer you protected status within our domain." Dr. Lisa Morgan, Earth's leading expert in communication and language, stepped forward. She had been rushed to New York by military jet as soon as the ship appeared. "We welcome you to Earth," she said carefully, "but we would like to understand what protected status means before we agree to anything." Thorful made a sound that might have been laughter. "Your species is young, primitive. You have barely touched the stars. Protected status is a gift. We will shield you from the dangers of the galaxy while guiding your development." Carter didn't like the ambassador's tone. It reminded him of how Europeans had once spoken to native peoples before colonizing their lands. Over the next few hours, the terms became clear. The hegemony would provide some technological advances to Earth, medical treatments, improved energy sources, but in return, they would take a significant portion of Earth's resources. They called it a contribution fee. "This is not a request," Thorful explained when several world leaders objected. "The hegemony spans 17,000 star systems. Your entire military could not damage even one of our scout ships." To prove the point, the ambassador waved his hand, and holographic images appeared showing the hegemony's massive fleet. Ships larger than cities, weapons that could destroy planets. "We have watched your world for decades," Thorful continued. "Your primitive space efforts amuse us. Your rockets and small satellites are children's toys compared to our technology." As the meeting continued, Carter noticed how the aliens barely hid their contempt. They spoke of humans as if they were clever pets, showing occasional signs of intelligence, but ultimately needing guidance and control. When the meeting ended, Earth had little choice but to accept the hegemony's terms. The aliens returned to their ship, leaving behind communication devices and a schedule for resource collection that would begin in 1 month. "They think we're weak," Carter said quietly to Dr. Morgan as they watched the alien representatives depart. "They think we're stupid," she replied. "And that might be our only advantage right now." Carter nodded slowly. "They expect us to stay primitive and obedient. Maybe we should let them think that while we figure out what to do next." Neither of them knew it then, but that simple idea would become the seed of humanity's greatest deception and eventual liberation. 3 years passed under hegemony rule. Life on Earth changed in ways both good and bad. The aliens had shared some medical technology that cured several diseases. They provided new energy systems that were cleaner than oil or coal. but the cost was high. The hegemony took water, minerals, and metals from Earth in massive amounts. Their huge harvester ships descended regularly, leaving behind empty mines and dry lakes. Admiral Catherine Donovan watched one such harvester from her office window in the Pentagon. Once, she had commanded the United States Navy Pacific Fleet. Now she led what remained of Earth's military forces, mostly reduced to ceremonial duties by hegemony rules. "They're taking more than agreed," said her aide, Lieutenant Greg Perkins, looking at data on his tablet. "That's the third lake drained this month." Donovan nodded. "Keep recording everything. Send the data through our secure channel." What the hegemony didn't know was that Admiral Donovan had been gathering intelligence on their activities since day one. She had a network of loyal officers and civilians watching the aliens, noting their habits, weaknesses, and technology. That afternoon, world leaders gathered at the United Nations for an important announcement. The main hall was filled with humans in suits and uniforms, all looking uncomfortable as hegemony overseer Draz Kell took the stage. Taller than Ambassador Xor Full, and with darker skin, Draz Kell had replaced the ambassador 1 year ago. He was known for his direct and often cruel approach. "People of Earth," the overseer began, his translated voice booming through speakers. "Your contribution quotas will increase by 40%, effective immediately." A murmur of shock ran through the crowd. Senator George Bennett from Colorado stood up. "That's impossible," he said firmly. "We're already giving more than we can afford. Our people are struggling." Draz Kell turned his large eyes toward Bennett. "Perhaps your managers are inefficient. Other protected worlds meet their quotas without complaint. Other worlds may have different resources," Bennett argued. "We need to negotiate reasonable terms." The overseer made a gesture with his upper right hand. Suddenly, Senator Bennett froze in place. His face contorted in pain as Draz Kell appeared to search through his mind with some kind of psychic ability. "Your personal dwelling has a swimming pool," the alien announced to the crowd. "You use water for pleasure while claiming scarcity. You consumed animal flesh 3 times yesterday, while others on your planet starve." Everyone watched in horror as the senator's private thoughts were exposed. Bennett collapsed back into his seat, face red with humiliation. "The new quotas stand," Draz Kell concluded. "Those who fail will face disciplinary action." Far from this public display, deep under the Rocky Mountains, scientists Frank Wilson and Olivia Martinez worked in a hidden facility. The massive underground complex had been built before the aliens arrived and kept off all official records. "Test sequence complete," Olivia said, looking at a computer screen. "The power signature is completely masked." Frank smiled as he examined the small device on the table. It didn't look impressive, just a metal box with a few lights, but it represented humanity's greatest hope. "Project Phantom is ready for full-scale testing," he said. Olivia looked nervous. "If the hegemony discovers what we're doing." "They won't," Frank assured her. "That's the whole point. They can't detect what we've built." What the arrogant aliens never considered was that humans would not simply accept their place as a protected species. While making a show of compliance on the surface, Earth's best minds had been working in secret, studying and improving upon the glimpses of alien technology they had been allowed to see. And the hegemony's greatest mistake was underestimating human determination. Each insult, each demand, each show of force only strengthened the resolve of people like Admiral Donovan, Frank Wilson, and Olivia Martinez to find a way to fight back. Project Phantom was just the beginning, Earth's hidden technological breakthrough that would soon change everything. 5 years into the occupation, a small group of world leaders gathered in a secure room deep beneath the Swiss Alps. The room was swept for bugs and monitoring devices every hour. Admiral Donovan stood at the front, facing nervous but determined faces. "It's time I showed you what we've been working on," she said. She nodded to Dr. Richard Hobbs, who stepped forward with a small case. "Project Phantom is ready," Dr. Hobbs announced. He opened the case to reveal what looked like a simple metal cube with glowing blue lines running through it. This device can hide any energy signature from hegemony sensors. It bends light, heat, and radiation around objects. The president of Brazil leaned forward. "You're saying it makes things invisible." "Not just invisible," Dr. Hobbs explained. "Truly undetectable. We reverse engineered it from hegemony stealth technology, and then improved it dramatically." Murmurs filled the room. The Prime Minister of India raised her hand. And what good is one small device against their massive fleet? Admiral Donovan smiled for the first time in years. "Show them," she said to her aide. A large screen lit up on the wall, showing live video feeds from multiple locations, a massive underwater facility in the Pacific Ocean, a hidden base inside an Antarctic mountain, and a shipyard built into an asteroid in the far side of the moon. "We've been building for years," Donovan said, using facilities the hegemony never knew existed. The screen showed massive ships under construction, sleek and deadly looking. Unlike the bulky hegemony vessels, these were elegant and streamlined. 27 ships completed, Donovan continued. Another 30 nearing completion, all equipped with Phantom stealth systems. The leaders stared in shock. The Japanese Prime Minister whispered, "How did you build these without the aliens noticing?" "The same way we're going to use them," Donovan replied. "Right under their noses." The meeting moved to the next phase. Captain Samuel Wright was brought in, tall, with short brown hair and steady eyes. He had commanded submarines before the aliens came. "Captain Wright will lead our first stealth destroyer, the U.S. Vigilant," Donovan announced. The captain nodded. "My crew has been training in virtual simulators for 2 years. We're ready. And I'll be his second in command," added Lieutenant Commander Diana Lewis, stepping forward. "We've developed tactics based on everything we've learned about hegemony weaknesses." Dr. Hobbs explained more technical details about the fleet. The ships used advanced propulsion systems based on partial hegemony designs, but improved by human engineers. The weapons were a mix of human and alien technology. Most importantly, every vessel could remain completely invisible to hegemony detection systems. "The aliens think we're still playing with rockets and jet engines," Dr. Hobbs said. "They have no idea what we've accomplished." Admiral Donovan moved to the final part of her presentation. "While we've been building our fleet, we've also been running a massive misinformation campaign. We've deliberately appeared incompetent and submissive." She played video clips of human representatives bumbling through meetings with hegemony officials, pretending not to understand simple concepts, failing at basic tasks. "Each time we appear more primitive, they lower their guard more," Donovan explained. "They've reduced security patrols around Earth. They've stopped monitoring our deep space communications because they think we barely understand their technology." The German chancellor looked concerned. "But what if they discover what we're doing before we're ready?" Donovan's face hardened. "That's why secrecy is absolute. Only people in this room know the full extent of Project Phantom. Most of our workers think they're building separate components without knowing the final purpose." As the meeting ended, Captain Wright and Lieutenant Commander Lewis were given their first mission orders. The U.S. Vigilant would leave Earth's orbit in 1 week, using its stealth technology to infiltrate hegemony space and gather critical intelligence. The time for merely surviving was over. Now, humanity would start fighting back. The U.S. Vigilant moved silently through space. From the outside, it would be impossible to see, not just invisible to eyes, but undetectable to any sensors. Inside the ship, Captain Wright sat in the command chair on the bridge, watching his crew work with quiet efficiency. "Status report," he said. "Phantom systems working perfectly," reported Lieutenant Commander Lewis from her station. "We're completely hidden." The Vigilant had left Earth 3 weeks ago. Now they were deep in hegemony space, passing unnoticed between massive alien ships. Their mission was simple but dangerous: gather intelligence about hegemony forces and find any weaknesses. "We're approaching the central command station," said the navigator, a young officer named Carl Murphy. The main screen showed an enormous space station. It looked like a metal wheel with spokes leading to a central hub. Hundreds of ships moved around it, coming and going from different parts of the galaxy. "Begin passive scans," ordered Captain Wright. "Record everything." For 6 hours, the Vigilant orbited the station, its advanced systems absorbing all communications and data without being detected. The crew watched in amazement as ships from dozens of alien species docked at the station. "Captain, I'm picking up something interesting," said Intelligence Officer Nicole Palmer. "It looks like not all species in the hegemony are happy with Altharian rule." She played a recording of 2 alien captains talking. The translation software converted their clicks and whistles to English. "The Altharans demand more tribute every cycle," said one captain. "My people grow tired of their arrogance." "Careful," warned the other. "Such talk leads to pacification operations." Wright leaned forward. "This is useful. The hegemony isn't as unified as they want us to think." Later that day, Lieutenant Commander Lewis made an even more important discovery. She had managed to access one of the station's data networks through a security flaw. "Captain, I've found their military deployment records," she said excitedly. "And there's more. Earth isn't the only world being exploited. There are at least 30 protected planets in similar situations." Wright nodded. "Download everything. This could help us find allies." As Lewis worked, Officer Palmer decoded more communications. Her face grew pale as she listened to one message. "Sir, the hegemony has plans for Earth beyond what they've told us," she reported. "Once they believe we're fully compliant, they intend to strip mine our oceans for rare minerals." Wright's hands tightened on the arms of his chair. "How soon?" "Within 2 years, according to this schedule." The crew worked through the night, gathering every piece of useful information they could find. They discovered the locations of hegemony shipyards, fuel depots, and command centers. They learned about the hegemony's weapons capabilities and defensive systems. Most importantly, they confirmed that humans had been placed aboard several hegemony ships as observers, actually hostages to ensure Earth's cooperation. What the hegemony didn't know was that many of these humans were secretly trained agents. "Message from Agent Alan Garcia on the hegemony cruiser Dominance," reported the communications officer. "He's in position at their main military installation in this sector and awaiting orders." Captain Wright smiled. "Tell him to continue gathering information, but take no action yet. His time will come." After 5 days near the command station, the Vigilant began its journey home, carrying vital intelligence that would help shape Earth's strategy. As they prepared to leave hegemony space, they received an encrypted message from Earth. "New orders from Admiral Donovan," said Lewis. "We're to make contact with representatives of the Vortian species before returning. Apparently, they've shown interest in resisting Altharian rule." Wright nodded. This mission had already exceeded expectations. Not only had they proven their stealth technology worked perfectly, but they had discovered potential allies in their fight against the hegemony. "Set course for the Vortian trading outpost," he ordered. "Let's see if we can make some friends out here." The Vigilant disappeared deeper into hegemony territory, invisible and untouchable, carrying the hopes of Earth with it. The meeting took place on a small moon orbiting a gas giant, far from any hegemony patrols. 3 ships sat hidden in a deep crater: the U.S. Vigilant, a sleek vessel belonging to the Vortians, and a heavier battle cruiser of Keltorian design. Inside a temporary structure, Ambassador Janet Edwards represented Earth. Across from her sat 2 aliens, a Vortian with purple skin and 6-fingered hands, and a Keltorian whose thick, armored skin made him look like a walking tank. "The Altharans have controlled us for too long," said the Vortian diplomat, Zixspan. "They take our technology and give us little in return." The Keltorian, Commander Grutak, nodded. "They use our warriors as cannon fodder while their ships command from safety." Ambassador Edwards spread out images showing Earth's stealth fleet. "We have built 50 vessels, all equipped with technology the hegemony cannot detect. We seek an alliance. The aliens examined the images carefully. Zixvan looked impressed. Your stealth systems appear more advanced than anything we've seen. Our scientists reversed their tech and improved it, Edwards explained. The Altherans assumed we were too primitive to understand their systems. Commander Grutak laughed, a rumbling sound like stones sliding down a hill. The Altherans always underestimate lesser species. It will be their downfall. As they talked, Chief Engineer Paul Rodriguez shared Earth's technical advancements with the alien scientists. The Vortians offered improvements to Earth's weapon systems, while the Keltorians provided tactical knowledge gained from centuries of space warfare. We will coordinate our efforts, Edwards said as the meeting concluded. When Earth makes its move, your forces will strike simultaneously in other sectors. Back on Earth, conditions were getting worse. Overseer Drazkel had ordered mass relocations of human populations to optimize resource extraction. Entire towns were forced to move so the hegemony could access minerals beneath them. In a hidden bunker beneath the ruins of Chicago, Colonel Ryan Garcia briefed his resistance team. Once a Marine, he now led Earth's most effective sabotage unit. We hit these 3 harvester sites tonight, he told the men and women gathered around him. Remember, we cause delays but avoid casualties. We need to slow them down without revealing our true capabilities. His second-in-command, Sergeant Ellie Fisher, pointed to a map. Teams Alpha and Bravo will disable the processing equipment. Team Charlie creates a diversion here. The resistance fighters moved out as darkness fell. Across the planet, similar groups carried out carefully planned operations, just enough to frustrate the hegemony, but not enough to trigger a major crackdown. Meanwhile, Admiral Donovan received Captain Wright's report in her underground command center. The alliance with the Vortians and Keltorians is confirmed, Wright said via secure channel. They'll support us when we make our move. Donovan nodded. Good work, Captain. The fleet is almost ready. 50 vessels are now positioned throughout the solar system. She turned to a large holographic display showing Earth and the surrounding space. Tiny dots represented the hidden human ships, waiting silently among asteroids, behind moons, and in high orbit, completely invisible to hegemony sensors. How much longer before we're fully prepared? Wright asked. We need 2 more weeks, Donovan replied. But the hegemony might not give us that time. Drazkel is growing impatient with our incompetence. He's requested additional forces to help manage Earth. Wright's face hardened. They're sending more ships. A pacification fleet, Donovan confirmed. 20 warships to demonstrate the consequences of not meeting quotas if they attack civilian targets. Then we move early, Donovan said firmly. I won't watch our people die when we have the means to fight back. After the call ended, Donovan stood alone looking at the display. Years of planning, building, and waiting might soon come to fruition. Humanity had endured humiliation and exploitation while preparing in secret. The stealth fleet was their greatest achievement, and the hegemony's greatest nightmare. They just needed a little more time. But time was running out. The hegemony pacification fleet arrived with a display of power meant to terrify Earth. 20 massive warships entered the solar system in perfect formation, their weapon systems glowing with barely contained energy. At their center flew the command ship, twice the size of the others, carrying hegemony High Commander Vexcor. From his office window, Major William Carter watched the ships appear in the sky above New York, just as the first hegemony vessel had done years ago. But this time, he felt no fear, only grim determination. They're right on schedule, he said into his secure communicator. Acknowledged, replied Admiral Donovan from her command center. Operation Reckoning is now active. Across Earth, pre-planned evacuations began under cover of normal activities. Underground shelters that had been built in secret filled with civilians. Transportation networks, disguised as regular subway expansions, moved people away from likely target areas. At the United Nations, Earth's official representatives prepared for a meeting with High Commander VexCorps. They had been carefully selected for this role. People who could convincingly play the part of terrified, submissive leaders. VexCorps didn't bother landing. Instead, he projected his image into the UN chamber, a towering hologram that looked down on the human representatives. "Your world has failed to meet its obligations," his amplified voice boomed. "The hegemony requires examples to ensure future compliance." The acting Secretary General, a man selected partly for his ability to appear weak, stepped forward with trembling hands. "High Commander, we beg for mercy. We are trying our best to meet the quotas." "Your best is insufficient," VexCorps replied coldly. "We have selected the city you call Portland for demonstration. Its destruction will motivate the rest of your species." Gasps of horror filled the chamber, all part of the act. In reality, Portland had been quietly evacuated 2 days earlier. Its population moved through underground tunnels to secure facilities. "Please," begged the acting Secretary General, "give us more time." VexCorps made a gesture of dismissal. "You have had years. Now you will learn the price of disappointing the hegemony." As the hologram vanished, Earth's representatives maintained their appearance of panic and despair. Emergency broadcasts announced the hegemony's decision, urging people to stay calm while secretly directing final evacuations. High above Earth, 5 hegemony warships moved into position over Portland. Their weapons systems powered up, preparing to reduce the city to ash. In her command center, Admiral Donovan watched the situation unfold on multiple screens. Beside her stood Captain Wright, temporarily recalled from the Vigilant. "All evacuations complete," reported an officer. "Portland is empty." Donovan nodded. "And our fleet?" "All ships report ready. The U.S. Defiance and U.S. Sovereign have moved into position behind Earth's moon. The rest of the fleet is stationed as planned." Donovan looked at Wright. "Captain, return to the Vigilant. You'll lead the first strike. Remember, disable rather than destroy when possible. We want prisoners, not martyrs." Wright saluted and hurried to the transport that would take him back to his ship. Minutes later, he settled into the captain's chair on the Vigilance bridge. "Status report," he ordered. Lieutenant Commander Lewis looked up from her station. "All systems operational. Phantom stealth technology functioning at 100%. Weapons hot. The hegemony ships have no idea we're here." On the main screen, Wright watched as the hegemony vessels prepared to fire on Portland. His ship was positioned less than a kilometer from the lead warship, yet completely invisible to their sensors. Wright opened a secure channel to all Earth vessels. "This is Captain Wright. Operation Reckoning is now active. All ships prepare to decloak on my mark." Across the solar system, 50 Earth vessels waited silently. The carriers U.S. Defiance and U.S. Sovereign moved into blocking positions, cutting off the hegemony's retreat path. Earth's allies in distant star systems prepared their own forces, ready to strike simultaneously across hegemony space. As the lead hegemony warship fired up its main cannon, Admiral Donovan gave the final order: "Send the authorization code." "Captain Wright, you are clear to engage." Wright nodded to his communications officer. "Send to all ships. Authorization Reckoning actual. Decloak and engage." The trap was set. Humanity's moment had arrived. One moment, the hegemony pacification fleet stood alone in Earth's orbit. The next moment, they were surrounded. 50 Earth vessels materialized around them, appearing out of nowhere as their stealth systems deactivated. The human ships were smaller than the alien warships, but sleek and deadly looking, their weapons already locked on key points of the hegemony vessels. On the bridge of the lead hegemony warship, alarms blared. Officers rushed to their stations as sensors suddenly detected multiple ships where seconds before there had been nothing. "Impossible," shouted Commander VexCorps. "Where did they come from?" Captain Wright's face appeared on the hegemony command screen. "This is Captain Samuel Wright of the Earth Defense Force. Your fleet is surrounded. Power down your weapons or be destroyed. Vexcor stared in shock at the human captain. You dare to threaten the hegemony? Your primitive ships cannot harm us. Try to fire on Portland, Wright replied calmly. See what happens. The hegemony commander sneered and gave the order to continue the attack. The lead warship's main cannon powered up, aiming at the city below. Before it could fire, a precision strike from the U.S. Vigilant severed the cannon's power connection. The weapon went dark. That was your only warning, Wright said. Stand down now. Vexcor roared in fury. All ships, destroy these human vessels. The space around Earth erupted in battle. The hegemony ships fired massive energy beams, but the Earth vessels moved with surprising speed, their advanced engines allowing maneuvers the aliens had never seen before. On the Vigilance Bridge, Lieutenant Commander Lewis called out, 2 hegemony destroyers moving to flank us. Evasive pattern Delta. Wright ordered. Target their propulsion systems. The Vigilant dived beneath one alien ship, firing precisely at its engine ports. The larger vessel shuddered as its engines failed. Meanwhile, other Earth ships engaged the remaining hegemony forces with similar tactics, disabling rather than destroying when possible. What shocked the hegemony commanders most was how the human vessels seemed to know exactly where to strike. Each attack targeted specific vulnerabilities that the aliens thought were secret. How do they know our ship designs? Demanded Vexcor. How are they predicting our maneuvers? He didn't know that humans had spent years studying hegemony technology, tactics, and weaknesses. Every move the aliens made had been anticipated and countered. As the battle continued, the hegemony flagship attempted to escape. It turned away from Earth, powering up its jump drive to flee to safety. Before it could activate, the U.S. Intrepid appeared directly in its path, commanded by Lieutenant Commander Lewis. Not so fast, she said over the communication channel. You're not going anywhere. The Intrepid fired a specialized weapon that disrupted the flagship's jump drive. The massive ship was trapped. Throughout the solar system, similar scenes played out as Earth's ships engaged the scattered hegemony forces. The aliens' superior firepower was neutralized by human tactics and technology they had never seen before. In deep space, Earth's allies launched their coordinated attacks. The Vortians disabled hegemony communication relays, while Keltorian warships struck at supply depots. Across 3 sectors of hegemony space, carefully planned rebellions cut off any hope of reinforcements reaching Earth. After 30 minutes of battle, half the hegemony fleet had been destroyed. The remaining ships were disabled, floating helplessly in space. On the flagship's bridge, Commander Vexcor watched in disbelief as human ships surrounded his vessel. His mighty fleet, which had crushed rebellions across the galaxy, had been defeated by a species the hegemony had dismissed as primitive and weak. This is impossible, he whispered. You were nothing. How did you do this? Captain Wright's voice came through once more. You should have looked closer, Commander. Humans don't stay down when we're pushed. We learn, we adapt, and we remember every insult. As Vexcor's flagship powered down its weapons, Earth's greatest victory was secured. The message was clear. Humanity would no longer be anyone's protected species. News of the hegemony's defeat spread across the galaxy faster than anyone expected. On the Altharian homeworld, crowds gathered in the streets as reports came in about the destruction of their pacification fleet. Political leaders who had supported the aggressive expansion policies suddenly found themselves facing angry questions. 3 weeks after the battle, a different kind of alien ship approached Earth. It was smaller and carried only one important passenger, Ambassador Xorthol, returning to the planet he had once treated with such contempt. This time, there was no grand entrance. His shuttle landed quietly at a designated area outside Washington, D.C., instead of world leaders bowing before him. He was met by Admiral Donovan and President Laura Chen, who had emerged from hiding to lead Earth's new government. Ambassador, said President Chen coolly, you're here to discuss surrender terms. Torthol bowed his head slightly. The Hegemony Council wishes to negotiate a peaceful resolution to our misunderstanding. Admiral Donovan laughed. Misunderstanding. You enslaved our planet and threatened to destroy our cities. Unfortunate actions by overenthusiastic officials. Corval said smoothly. The Council now recognizes Earth as a sovereign power and seeks peaceful relations. They moved to a conference room where representatives from the Vortians and Keltorians were already waiting. Over the next few days, the foundation for a new galactic alliance was established, one based on mutual respect rather than domination. Earth demanded and received reparations for years of exploitation. The Altharians agreed to withdraw from all protected worlds and allow them to join the new alliance as equals if they wished. At the United Nations building, now being rebuilt after years of neglect, Captain Wright and his crew received medals for their service. The U.S. Vigilance stood proudly in orbit above Earth, visible to all now that there was no need for stealth. Your actions turned the tide, President Chen told Wright during the ceremony. You showed the galaxy that humanity cannot be underestimated. Wright smiled. It wasn't just us, Madam President. It was every scientist who worked in secret, every resistance fighter who risked their life, and every person who played their part in the deception. Across Earth, people celebrated their newfound freedom. Cities that had been partially dismantled by hegemony harvesters began rebuilding. With access to advanced technology no longer restricted, humanity made rapid progress in medicine, energy production, and space travel. Dr. Lisa Morgan, who had been present at the first contact years ago, now led the new cultural exchange program. Her team worked to establish true understanding between species that had been kept apart or set against each other by hegemony policies. We don't want to repeat their mistakes, she explained during a broadcast watched across many worlds. Different doesn't mean inferior. The new alliance will be built on cooperation, not conquest. In a secure facility on the moon, former overseer Draz Kell sat in a comfortable but escape-proof cell. He was being treated well, better than he had treated humans, but he would stand trial for his actions against Earth and other worlds. Admiral Donovan came to visit him one day. The once proud Altharian looked smaller somehow, his confidence gone. I don't understand, Draz Kell said as she entered. How did you hide such technology from us? Our sensors should have detected your fleet. Instead of answering, Donovan made a gesture. The wall of his cell seemed to shimmer, and suddenly 3 human guards appeared where there had been empty space. Draz Kell jumped back in shock. They were there the whole time. We could have hurt you many times, Donovan said quietly. We could have destroyed your ships whenever we wanted, but that's not who we are. She turned to leave, then paused at the door. You should have asked nicely for our cooperation instead of demanding our subservience. Humanity doesn't bow. We innovate. As Donovan walked away, leaving the stunned alien to contemplate his mistakes, she smiled. Earth had not only won its freedom, but had changed the course of galactic history. The species once ridiculed as primitive had proven themselves worthy of the stars. And their stealth fleet, now joined by ships from allied worlds, patrolled the galaxy, ensuring that no species would ever again suffer as Earth had under hegemony rule.